for agriculture is changing very, very quickly, and in order to bring smaller producers into international value chains, they need to be enabled to take up technology at a much faster rate than they ever had anticipated, and that remains challenging. Another one is that we need to look at regional markets as well as international exports from the developing world to the developed. So look at regional integration and look at breaking down those trade barriers. Infrastructure is always key, as is an enabling environment and sound policy set in place by government. Government needs to consult with agricultural producers, needs to consult with companies on the ground, set policy, and then step back and let them do their thing.
Basically everything, policy, business, and everything in between.
Everything. A lot of work to be done, but I think a lot of interesting innovations and a lot of interesting insights coming out from the panelists today.
Thanks so much, Adrienne. So we turn to you, Edmund. You work closely with people and directly with farmers as well. So from that small producer perspective, what do you think needs to be done?
Very well. The value chain of the cocoa industry is about 100 billion, of which Ghana and Ivory Coast produce about 60% of the world cocoa production. But only 6 billion goes to Ghana and Ivory Coast out of the 100 billion. So more value needs to be added onto the cocoa. And this is what nature is trying to do, to be able to move the paradigm shift, to be able to help processing by adding value in Africa. Agricultural industrialization needs to change and help to be able to help the local farmers to be able to improve their livelihood by adding value into what they produce.
Excellent. And you actually work with a board that works with the farmers. So what are some concrete ways to actually help them to add value to their goods?
For example, we work with a cooperative in Ghana called Kwapa Cocoa, whereby we buy their live crop cocoa beans for their fair trade cocoa beans at a premium. By so doing, we increase the farmers' livelihood by 15% and help them to be able to produce more.
Excellent. Adrienne, just one last question for you. It's also about the concrete skills building for the farmers, right? Can you talk about maybe how that can also help them to actually upscale?
Sure. I mean, skills building, I think the point that was made was that this is not something that government can go in and do wholesale for each individual farmer, but definitely, I mean, in terms of improving productivity, which on the smaller end of the agricultural scale has historically been incredibly low, building skills, building ability to take on new tools, new technologies, fertilizers, apps, things like that. It's all very nice to go out into a field in Ghana or in Ethiopia or in South America and say, you know, here is this material, but unless you build the framework and the foundations for people to actually be able to engage with it and use it productively, you're not going to get anywhere.
Great point. Edmund, you work with them concretely. Any last thoughts that you want to add on that?
We definitely need to continue to add value to what we are producing to be able to help the farmers generate more income and continue to produce more for the value chain.
Perfect. Lovely concluding sentence. Thanks so much to both of you for being here today. And please stay tuned for our live feed on women's entrepreneurship later today. Thanks so much for joining us. Excellent. Both of you. So good.
Thanks a lot, Susanna.
Thank you so much.